Hello and welcome. I am your host of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Author Karen E. Osborne. I have five novels out. The latest is Justice for Emerson. I am so glad that you're here. This is a space for readers and writers to come together and talk about books. I am delighted to introduce you to fellow New Yorker and fellow author, Candace Lola. Hey, Candace.
Hey Karen, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, I am just so glad. I can't wait for us to dive into this
Mhm.
intriguing book. So let's start by showing our audience this great cover.
Oh, yes. Um, Thank you
Look at
so much for
that.
your compliments. My sister is my cover artist, and
Mm.
this is her face on the cover. The only instruction I gave her was that I wanted her face on it, and I think she did a beautiful job. The whole design was her.
She really did do a
Mhm.
beautiful job. It's a kind of cover that just pulls you in.
Yes,
Like, what is this about?
thank
And
you.
it's a collection of short stories, right? It's a collection of stories or
Hmm.
other parables, as as you say.
Hmm.
So tell us a little bit about the inspiration. Like, how did this book even get started? Had you been writing these stories for a long time and you decided to put them together? Or
Hmm.
did you do this all at once? Tell us what that journey was like.
Well, it started out as a bunch of writing exercises um, to try so I could try to get into NYU. I had gotten waitlisted and then rejected, and so I just was writing a bunch of stories. So there's a lot more of these, well, a lot of starter stories, but these are
Mhm.
the ones that made the final cut eventually. Yeah,
So
yeah.
this
So
was
I
kind
love
of
I love
your
short stories. Sorry.
your admissions package. I am worthy, right?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. I wish my admissions package was this edited and I had this much time to look at it, you know. But yeah, yeah, essentially, yeah.
And so tell us what is the kind of the theme of the book? Women of Glass. I mean, that is such an intriguing title. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's really about it's a celebration of feminine rage and emotionality, particularly dark emotionality in women. Um, and I think of glass as beautiful, fragile, and very dangerous when cut, when broken, when shattered. And so yeah, that's sort of what inspired both the metaphor and the book was me accepting, that my anger is valid sometimes and just the angry parts of myself that are angry about things.
Yeah, and it's described as horror and occult, and so tell us about that part.
Well, the horror part was accidental. Um, when I was writing the exercises, I sort of was just free writing because I'd been very just sort of very restricted in the way I wrote before, sticking to a lot of rules that I thought I had to follow.
Mm.
And I wrote a lot of metaphor, and I feel like in my life, I felt very sheltered in some ways and just sort of locked in my own body. And there were things that I had been, I guess, ignoring sort of came out in this metaphor. And I didn't exactly know what I was looking at. Actually, what happened is I read it to my mom. The first sign that it was horror was that I read it to my mom, and she was like, "Why are you reading me this horror? Like, what's, are you okay?" And then, so the reader response also has been that it's horror. I also sort of get magic realism. But I like to
Mm.
call it literary horror, but it is body horror that I explore in it a lot.
Literary horror.
Mhm.
I bet that's a new genre that
Is
you.
it?
I love it. I love it. So tell us about one of the stories. Give us a taste of one of the stories.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the title story, Woman of Glass. It's about a young woman who is turned into glass unexpectedly. And so she goes and makes an appointment with a therapist, a new therapist. And the therapy session triggers memories that begin to crack her reality while she stiffens. She's triggered by her therapist. She's triggered by the fact that her therapist is probably doing better than her. She thinks she's prettier than her. Her mother starts to crack into the session, um, literally. And it's about it's about ignoring the parts of yourself that are stiffening and that are hurt and that need to grow. It's about being afraid to stretch. Um, it's about loving the broken pieces of yourself.
I love
And
that.
yeah, yeah. So that one I really liked that story. I was I wrestled with that one a little bit, but I decided to make it the title because of how hard it was. No pun
Yeah,
intended.
loving those parts of yourself that are broken.
Hmm.
We ignore it, we run from it, we dress it up
Yep.
and make it look better in
Hmm.
our eyes, and not realizing that the broken parts are just as valid and just as
Absolutely.
important as the other parts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that gave me little goosebumps. I
Oh.
love I've got a lot of broken parts. So,
I do. Oh, I do too.
yes, yes, I really love that.
I'm really glad.
One more. Give us the sense of one more.
Um, okay. So I'm obsessed with fairy tales and retellings of fairy tales and even the original fairy tales. My mother had this children's encyclopedia set when I grew up, and there was a lot of like the Grimm's brothers original fairy tales in there. And as a Disney kid, I was shocked at how how adult they were. And so I found that fascinating. So I wrote a version of The Three Little Pigs. It's about a village of pigs that's inside of a larger city of animals that are just like, mishmash animals. Some of them are, from North America, some of them escape from zoos. But the wolves run the place. They're sort of the bullies, they're the enforcers, and the pigs are very efficient, they're very smart, but they're not very confrontational. And finally, a young piglet has to stand up. Uh, and there was a legend of a woman in the water. I think where the occult, well, not the it's not the occult, really. It's more like Afro divinity. I studied a lot of like hoodoo and voodoo mythology when I was writing this book, and came upon the Uzuli. So she goes to one of the Uzuli. I think it's Santora for I use for this one, and she basically joins with her. They create a monster, um, and it's about sacrifice and how a lot of the times the responsibility of doing something falls to the person at the lowest rung who's being affected the most, and how much sacrifice that really is. Like, you never get to go back to your old shape ever. And when you become a hero of something, you really get pulled in a lot of different ways. Sometimes you don't come back, literally. Sometimes you die. Sometimes you die and you're with your cause. So it's about bravery and fear and how empowering rage can be and how extreme it can make us.
Wow. Yeah. When you were researching, different because you're a scholar.
Mhm.
So when you were researching, did you find out anything that just shocked you? That just like, oh my goodness, I never even thought of this before. I never, I've got to use this. I've got to use this because I don't know where yet.
Um, hmm. It might have been the different stories of the Orisha and How, oh, you know what? I think it's how voodoo has traveled from West Africa to different parts of the diaspora and how adaptable it is to its environment. And so hoodoo looks a little different from Louisiana voodoo, a little different from Santeria or Haitian voodoo or Voodoo. Like it's just Ifa, all of the little iterations, the flexibility and just the ability to improvise, which I feel like is a very Black thing. That was really inspiring and surprising. And that showed up in the mythology because there's so many versions of the different deities and so many different tiers. And the storytelling was incredible. And it was amazing to think about these deities sort of like being thought up by my ancestors and called to sometimes. And the power of that collective belief was really inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you traveled as part of this? Have you left the country or gone to other parts of the country when you were, was any of your research in person?
It was in person, but I did not travel for it. At least I didn't go to like another state. I wanted to go to Haiti. Unfortunately, that fell through. That was going to be through NYU, but it was a bad time. But I did talk to practitioners here in New York. I did a lot of interviews.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And, went to some of their practices and went out to lunch, like things like that. And one of them actually made my acknowledgement. She was so, so helpful. Let me see if I can pull up her name here. She's right in the back. Letitia. Yeah, Letitia Janine. Yeah, she is really, really insightful and knowledgeable and smart. And I got a lot from her. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, yes and no. I
Mhm.
wish I had
Yeah.
traveled more life work. I would like to travel for the next project.
Well, let's talk about that. What's the next project?
Well, I'm writing a novel, but when I say next, I mean we have some time. We have some time in between. But I like to play with the ideas of the ancestral plane and the feeling of being a human on Earth and feeling as if there is something divine and how small and
Mm.
vulnerable that makes you feel, or sometimes empowered, and it just kind of plays with you. And I thought, what if we're just being played with someone
Mm.
else's game? Yeah,
Pup,
and
puppet master.
exactly, exactly. What if it's just string? I guess it's the free will question all over again. Um, but yeah, and so I'm working with that. It's still in the theme of rage. Um, three generations of women. One of them is an ancestor who is breaking the rules by trying to contact her descendants on Earth. And it isn't until one of her descendants starts to return to her Afro divine practices, the hoodoo, that she starts to be able to contact them. And she kind of wreaks havoc. That's all I know so far. But I
And
am really
writing a
excited.
novel is quite different from writing short stories and writing essays. I know you're also an essayist.
Yes.
It's, they're all so different. You think that,
Hmm.
writing is writing, but no,
No.
there's, there's, I can't tell you how many short stories I've written. Oh my goodness, I've written so
Hmm.
many short stories, but I'm not very good at it.
You
Or
don't think
nobody
so?
wants them. They
Oh.
want them. Whereas my novels, every year I get one, somebody wants
Right.
it and publishes it every year.
Yeah.
But my short stories, I just get no, 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 It's, I'm trying still.
It's it's definitely a lesson in perseverance. That is I have gotten a lot of no's, a ton of no's, tons of so
Yes, rejection is our friend.
absolutely
Because it's
hard
just
teacher.
part of the way that we're going, things that
Hmm.
we're doing. How has the book been received?
Um, so far well, and quietly, I've had some people reach out to me and talk about how they like my descriptions of just feelings, which is
Mm.
good. Yeah, yeah. I love feelings, was in my feelings. I like describing the feeling. So that was really important to me. Um, and some people have been surprised at the themes I'm talking about, particularly family. It's been like, oh.
Ask you about that. Has mom come around?
Well, mom unfortunately passed away before this book was published.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I personally believe she would have struggled to to like the book a little bit. Um, my dad was like, "Why horror? Like, what did I do wrong?" Like, he was very, yeah,
didn't I raise you right, girl?
he was like, "What are you trying to get out?" You know. Yeah, yeah. But from what I can tell, the literary part stands out a bit more because the most feedback that I've been getting is how I describe the themes, the main points to what I'm trying to say. Um, so that's been interesting. That's been interesting to learn. And like it's been interesting to learn how I wanted the book to be received. Like it
Mm.
it really pulled out some nuances there. I think I want to do a little bit, like go a little bit more at the horror in my next project. Um, and I think that will actually strengthen the literary themes. We'll see. But I thought it's been very cool now that she has a body and is out in the world to see how she's
Yes.
doing. Yeah.
Yes. You think of all my books as she as well. I talk about how's the book? Well, she's doing okay. She's really doing okay. I think of them all as alive
Yeah.
and real.
Yes. Yes, it feels
Well,
like that.
well, this is what are you reading? What are you writing? And so have you read anything recently that you could recommend to our audience?
Um, you know what? I have been reading I believe Mexican Gothic. Um, yeah, yeah. I picked it up initially because I heard good reviews and I like to read in the genre. And I also am writing a horror novel right now. And, wanted to see how the structure was. I'd heard really great things. And it really has pulled me in. The way she builds up dread is fantastic. There are there are points where I put the book down and went to bed and woke up and was like, wait a minute. Is the girl in the red dress, is she here? Is she I don't know. She could be fantastic work. So I highly recommend that if you're into horror reads. I've been having a lot of fun with that.
This
Yeah.
sounds, when books stay with you, no matter what the genre is,
Hmm.
when books stay with you, when you're concerned about the characters,
Yeah,
they stay in your head. I mean, that's the best kind of writing, whatever the genre is. One of the
absolutely.
nicest things about doing this show now for 5 years is I read books that I don't think I would have read.
Hmm.
But you meet people and you're
Hmm.
intrigued by
Hmm.
them and you're intrigued by, and you can feel that you can relate.
Hmm.
And you think, well, okay, maybe I will give that maybe. But if I
Yeah.
had just walked past it, although your cover, I don't think anybody's going to walk past your
Oh
cover.
my goodness.
It just grabs you and says, at least take a look.
Yeah,
Take a look, right?
absolutely.
Look at us. Look at us.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
this
my
has
sister loves
been
it.
so fun. This has been such
Me
a
too.
lovely conversation. Candace and I realized that we have New York in common
Yeah.
and Brooklyn in common and
Yeah.
NYU in common
Hmm.
and writing in common,
Absolutely.
which is really wonderful. And I hope all of you have been very, very intrigued. You can find Candace's book. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it in Barnes and Noble. You can find it in an independent bookstore. You can find it in the library. And if you can't, if you go and it's not on the shelf, just ask.
Gonna ask.
Just ask. And then they will bring it. They will get a copy for you and you'll be able to read it. And then once you read it, we would both be so appreciative if you wrote a review.
Hmm.
We really, really appreciate that. Uh, and now, Candace, tell us how people can be. I visited your intriguing, even your website is intriguing. The little circle going around. Tell people how they can find you online.
Well, you can find me on my website, CandaceLola.com. I'm also on Instagram. That's where you see main updates for me the fastest. That's Candace, Candice, and there's an underscore and then Lola. Um, and join my newsletter, my emailing list. They get people on my emailing list get, first dibs, so to speak. They get the news the fastest. I feel very connected to those people. A lot of the people on my emailing list right now are people that have been to my classes or came to the launch of the book, and it's really fun. We have a good time over there. It's a real community. So those are the three ways that you can contact me and find find the book.
Find the book.
Mhm.
Excellent, excellent. So I know that you all are going to do that. You're going to sign up for Candace's newsletter. You're going to be in touch with her on Instagram or on her Facebook. And when you do, please tell her that you met her on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? You guys have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Thanks for coming.